All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday 10X Mortgage Coach interview. I've been doing this for over 15 years, where every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, I am interviewing just badass, top producing mortgage professionals. This year, I've been adding more top real estate professionals to this. Usually, it's an interview, it's me and one other awesome person. But today I asked Kristen Messerly to join me. She's often a guest on our Friday mastermind every 9 o'clock on Fridays. But what's up, Kristen?
Hey, excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I felt interviewing Mosa, given how much she does for first-time home buyers, being one of the top down payment assistance loan officers in the country, I had to have the executive director of First Home IQ here. So
And now she's an ambassador with First Home IQ. So yeah, great to be here.
yeah, yeah. And if you could, Kristen, I'm gonna try to focus my voice in interview for loan officers and realtors. So like if any loan officers watching this, I'm gonna make sure they get value to win with agents. If any realtors watching this, I'm gonna make sure they get value. But why don't you kind of take the voice of, hey, how can we make this valuable to parents and teachers? And I know that like there's a lot of Gen Z out there,
Mhm.
just the way Mose talks we could cross purpose some of this content in the First Home IQ community. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I don't remember what we were talking about, Mosaic, whenever we were on stage when we met, but I know we started talking about Gen Z pretty quickly. And I just love the way your mind works around reaching the next generation. So yeah, really excited to talk about that. And definitely we'll think more about parents and teacher side of things as well.
Cool. So let's tee up this call, guys. First of all, if you're a mortgage or real estate professional and you are not leaning into the niche of serving first-time home buyers, you are missing, one of the biggest opportunities in housing. And I push everyone, regardless of what your market focus is, have an incredible first-time home buyer strategy. I've seen Mose on a number of stages as I speak around the country. Most recently, I interviewed her with the CEO and founder of Down Payment Assistance. And they are the down payment assistance resource platform for both Zillow, Redfin, and really the premier search engine to find down payment assistance programs. So we'll put a link down below to that conversation. Uh, so Mose, if you could just, for anyone watching this is the first time where you've been on the Tuesday 10X, just give us a little high level around what market you're in, a little bit about your mortgage practice and what you do on your day to day, and then we'll get into the topics.
Sure. I'm in Las Vegas, sunny and very hot Las Vegas currently. And I've been in mortgage for about 24 years because I've worked between banks and IMBs. Um, our median sales price here in Vegas is about 463. But I know Vegas seems like a lot of glitz and glamour, but we are in fact a working town. Our hardworking people here that work in the casinos, blue collar workers, construction, and things like that. It's not all performers and famous people. So we have a lot of people wanting to get into home ownership and needing housing that might suit or run parallel to what they're making. So I did try to make it my passion to help people. Um, I wanted to note the median sales price because I know a lot of people used to shy away from first time buyers because of what those loan amounts look like, the time it might take um, to kind of get people into homes. But really looking at this in a different light made me see the possibility to not only be able to service home buyers, I call it doing good while getting the bag. So I can do good, right? Help people get into homes, help people understand what home ownership can do for them, but really knock it out of the park as far as originations are concerned, because it has such a value for those trying to develop housing right now and those that will be getting into it in the future to understand what that looks like. So right now, I am the Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth and Expansion at New American Funding. I took on the new role about 4 months ago, so I get to combine my love of originating, which I still do and still have my team. I have two originators that originate for me, but combine that with really helping people understand serving diverse communities. And I get to hire at NAF for people who love to serve those diverse communities. And I think it became important to me as far as the legacy I would leave on mortgage. I didn't want my kids to just say, Mom did a bunch of loans. When I was 20, there weren't many people that looked like me in the business. So no one can tell me or could tell me, this is how you can go out and crush it while being a woman in this business and also while being a diverse woman. There was no platform for it. The deals were made on the golf course and I wasn't there because I didn't golf, you know? I wasn't included. So I had to go about it the hard way. So if I can give back some of the things I've learned along the way, and to be that resource for real estate agents, home builders, I've even forged relationships with employers where I do their health and wellness fairs, because home ownership is definitely a benefit and a necessity for employers to be able to tap into as well, to have productive employees and people that really just crush it in their business. I want to lend that to the people that come and work for the company or work for me. And that way we have a bunch of practitioners out in the market that are very diverse or that can adequately serve these diverse communities that need home ownership.
I love your story. You are truly an inspiring leader. I remember, and we did put a link to the last interview, is called How to Help Home Buyers Solve the Number One Problem, Down Payment, with Mosa and Rob Crane, the CEO of Down Payment Resources. So guys, there is a link to that, and I really can't recommend it. It's been viewed, it's going on, it's over 700 times, and I wouldn't be surprised within weeks if it gets over 1,000 views. It's just an incredible interview, and it's going to be a little different than this one, so check it out. And then I recall, how many kids do you have?
5.
I
My
can't
oldest is
believe that.
26. She turned 26 last month, and she closed on her home 3 years ago. So
Wow.
yes, all of my kids will have home ownership. They understand credit. All of those that are over 18 have credit. They know how to manage money. And I started tapping into some of the schools that they went to make sure that I could provoke thought when it came to what financial stability means to a household. I think that that is a very good thought. You know, my kids are very blessed. We have stable household. Their fathers are military, were active duty when they were growing up. My kids and I have lived all over the United States and abroad. So I feel like they have a lot of world experience, but that financial experience, because of generations back, I didn't get that growing up. So it was so important to me to lend that to my children. But also I took the time to share with them mistakes. Culturally speaking, like, I come from the generation that was children were to be seen and not heard, you know? So my parents never shared their mistakes. My family never shared the mistakes. So it's like we went out and recreated those same mistakes repeatedly. So in Black culture, you might hear people say generational curses a lot. You hear that referred to, and credit and finances is one of them, just because there's no sharing going on. So everybody learns the hard way. You know, you go mess it up and then you have to go fix it. Or you don't save because that's not instilled with you, because nobody is sharing their habits and what they do. So yes, sharing tons with my kids so they don't have to necessarily make the same mistakes. And if I just share with them the wins, and you know, social media is full of wins, but who's going to go out and share their mistakes? Like, I would love to see people doing more content based on, look, this is how I messed up, you know? Because when you go to your kids and you say, don't do that, you know, they're more likely to probably go do exactly that. But if you tell them, look, I screwed up, and you're vulnerable, like, my kids are avoiding some of the things that I did that I just simply didn't know about, but learned about because I got into the business at a young age.
Love.
You know,
Go ahead, Chris.
PBS did a study that showed that your money habits are ingrained by the age of 7. And I've looked at other research that shows the same thing, you know, different ages below 12. Anyway, it's not because we're not, I mean, we're talking about it. It's because people mimic and absorb the emotions around money from their parents at a young age. And so by talking about it, like you're saying, you know, and sharing things, that exposes, you know, what it gives a lot more opportunity for people to actually bring awareness around their habits around money. So that's awesome.
Not talking about it, and they're just kind of looking and assuming you did X, Y, and Z, or they see you take out the card all the time. I remember my daughter when she was little, it's like, Well, can't we go here? I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that this week. Well, we can just use the card. And I'm like, whoa, 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 time out. But this is like at 10 years old, they're saying that because all they do is they see what I'm doing and there was no discussion around it. So I knew very early it was important to open those discussions about why and the how. So as they became adults or adult age to have debit cards and credit cards, that they wouldn't go out and like, like some of my friends did when we were getting into college. It's like they maxed out the $300 credit card and wondered why they had low credit. Or, I mean, I'm going to date myself, but when I was younger, you started getting your first payment plan, like with BMG Music, when CDs were costing like $50 a pop, So that's me aging myself.
Yeah.
That's literally how people were getting bad credit from the get-go, right? You're just like, oh, I'll just finance it and pay it later. And now today we have the put into installments on everything. I think I grocery shopped online for Walmart and it was like, break this into 4 payments. I'm just like, oh my God, it's so accessible now. The conversations are needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and so much of what's happening between mainstream media and that it really is creating a forever renter society, which I know your values and both Trust Engine and First Home IQ, we want to help everyone get into home ownership as young and as fast as they can. So let me put oh, and by the way, for the folks that gave a little heart when Monet said something that you liked, keep doing that. Those reactions are appreciated. If any one of us say something that really resonates, use the reaction. And then, of course, put your questions in chat. We will get to those. We've got over 128 people on Zoom right now watching this. And when you look at our Facebook group, I'm sure we probably have hundreds watching this. And this is also going to go into YouTube, where hopefully we'll have over 1,000 view this in the mortgage and real estate space. So put questions down below and big takeaways down below. So let's tee up the topic here. The NAR settlement is coming. Those changes are right now. The date is August 17th, I believe. And I have this thesis that every real estate agent in America has never been more recruitable and has never looked for help more than they do now. And I think it's well known, anybody that follows me, I think mortgage professionals need to start doing more than a fee worksheet, and you need to start showing the net worth of homeownership. Like, hey, I don't just do loans. I show people how to build net worth with real estate. But I think if I was a realtor, I'd want to work with a mortgage professional that can put more first-time home buyers into homes, and obviously down payment resources it's a tool, it's a strategy, but there's, financial literacy is a tool and a strategy. And so let me just hit you with this topic, and then Kristen, let's go back and forth on this, but how are you helping realtors sell more homes to first-time home buyers? Like, how do you answer that? And then we'll unpack that in a lot of different ways.
Okay. My first step when this started being kicked around of, the NAR settlement, I'm in a state that does not require buyer brokerage agreements. So for this purpose, we'll call them BBAs to shorten that up a little bit. And I started teaching agents and talking to agents about how to execute and broach the subject of their value proposition to be able to execute that buyer brokerage agreement to represent the homeowner and what that looked like. And the reason why I started doing that last year, my first webinar was in December, actually, to try to teach more than one person at a time. But I immediately went to my partners. I needed them to have a different value proposition than only being able to drive people around, because the conception I felt for the general public is an agent just takes me to houses. They need more. They need more from us, and they need more from the real estate partners too, so that value is established right out the gates. So I think that that's how I began the process. But then I needed to also level my game up as far as what my value proposition was and what I was offering to each and every client that I encountered, and find those ways to talk to people about home ownership in this environment where home prices have went up, right? So you don't have this parallel in my market to go from renting to owning for the same price. Heck, you can't do it in most cases for even a couple $100 more per month. So what am I going to show my homeowners the value of ownership, so they're invested in the process with us from start to finish? Because I always like to say that if we went off of who was interested in home ownership, man, that line would be long as heck, right? Because everybody wants a home. But we are the ones that create the path for them by illustrating what that looks like for their cost, helping them set goals, and being able to execute. So I also changed a lot of the words that I use. I think you and Kristen know this about me. I'm so keen on words and verbiage. And I feel that when I'm dealing in first-time home buyer, for starters in Vegas, about 35 to 37% of the home closings in the past 12 months have been to Hispanic borrowers. I'm on the West Coast. But let's also say in 2050, they say 50% of the US population will be or identify Hispanic as well. So this is, Mosa's dealing with it today. And I don't know, maybe in Michigan, they'll deal with it in the next few years. But I wanted to make sure that I had an offering that could really resonate with the people that we serve in Las Vegas. So my team is diverse. We have people that speak Spanish on the team. We want to serve people and their families, because often in diverse populations, you're talking to the person that's going to live in the house, but there's far more decision makers in that transaction. So if that means that I need someone that speaks Spanish because the person I'm talking to speaks English just fine, but their parents, their first language is Spanish, I need to be able to accommodate that. So dialing in and being able to show them, and I do use MortgageCoach tools to illustrate rent versus own, and to have that conversation up front about, look, I know it's not a parallel move, but let me show you the long-term benefits of ownership. I still believe in presenting at least 2 options to every buyer. And the reason why I want to give 2 is because I felt like I would be shorting people by not saying, well, you fit the box for down payment assistance because I know the qualifications. So let me show that to you, even though you have the money. Because like me, I have 5 kids. The youngest one just graduated a couple weeks ago, literally Memorial weekend. He's 17. So that's the baby. The oldest is 26. But if I was buying a home and I qualify for down payment assistance and somebody didn't offer it to me, I'm probably going to have college expenses or something come up. I feel like home ownership, sustainability, and that long game are all tied together. And as professionals, illustrating that value to each person is very important. And talking through what that looks like is going to be even more important for everybody's business going forward. Because it can't just be that, like you said, we do a cost estimate and we send a qualification. Or in some cases in my market, I've seen people have qualifications and not understand the cost at all. So I do a lot of intervening for consumers that don't understand what they got from someone because they're not having these long game conversations with the homeowner. And it's a huge value.
You know, in the last interview, you had some language and some words around down payment assistance programs that I thought broadened the box. And I also felt like you just consistently throughout the conversation spoke in a consumer first way. I think in both mortgage and real estate, we tend to use buzzwords and jargon, and you just had some language and words. How, if you could, I would love to hear how you talk about down payment assistance program and specifically with agents. I mean, the more I can help loan officers, well, first of all, not loan officers, but mortgage advisors, mortgage coaches. Like I want to turn loan officers into mortgage coaches who turn realtors into real estate advisors. Could you give us your language, your words, your phrasing, your scripts of how you have that conversation with agents?
Yes, I think the gateway to that is I went to my agents and partners and I said, stop telling people to call me to get pre-qualified. And the reason why I said that is because I always tap into, I guess we could say, the psychology of a home buyer, right? If you tell somebody to get pre-qualified, naturally, there's only a yes or a no at the end of that completion, right? That can be overwhelming or make them not even have the conversation or want to start the process now if they don't need to move out of their apartment for 6 months. So we need to engage people earlier. So my verbiage for that is to tell them to call me to get a home buying assessment. Again, you're right. We're advisors. We're going to assess the situation, correct? We're not just credit pullers and cost estimate givers. we're really assessing the situation specific to each homeowner. And to get that opportunity, I feel, especially now in the mortgage business, when there's so much technology where you don't have to do a hard credit pull, you can do a soft credit pull, which allows you to assess the information. So why are we still saying get qualified? If they're not ready to get qualified, they're not engaging you and talking to you in time enough to set a plan in motion. So that was step one. Step two, I feel that a lot of the words still used in mortgage are so old, like 1968, fair housing, old. And sometimes those terminologies are triggering for people, right? Because they have family members that maybe got locked out of home ownership or weren't successful in obtaining home ownership. So I wanted to be a part of the solution to mortgage and make it a little bit different and put it more in that advisor light. So instead of, I don't want to project poverty on people. Let me just get to it. I feel like telling someone that, hey, you can get assistance. Pride is there, man, in everything that we do, even in us and me. So telling someone that you could get assistance, it sounds more like welfare for housing. So can we call it, leveraging somebody else's money? Like, because everybody wants to leverage somebody else's money, and it is an opportunity to leverage money for that person if they fit the box of the requirements in order to get the house. And in my case, I have a 17-year-old, he's going to college. So why wouldn't I leverage somebody else's money because I'm going to need to pay for college? Dig in and really do that assessment to understand your buyer outside of just the blanks on a 1003. Our homeowners are so much more than that. The people we consult with are so much more than that. We need to understand their why and specifically their pain points, because I feel all the things that I'm going to talk to a homeowner about or a real estate agent about with that homeowner is the person's goals. What's their 5-year plan? And how does this mortgage fit into that? And how can I help them grow wealth? That wealth gap is so real, and I feel like this is a way to execute that, to have for future generations. I want to leave something to my kids beyond just a house. It's going to be the knowledge. And I'll go biblical. I believe in this wholeheartedly, that if you teach someone how to fish, they can feed themselves for a lifetime. I don't want to just give them a mortgage, put them in the car with me, drive there, we stop, boom, hey, you got a house, here's the keys, bye. It's like, hey, let's do this together. Let me understand what your goals look like so I can get you there. So assistance is a no-no. I like to educate people, but education has a time and a place. Mostly school, and most grown adults, even probably people on this call, would be put off if someone walked up to them and said, hey, I want to educate you. So I do things differently. I don't do classes and do education. I changed the title of them. And you think something so small, but it has such a major impact on even who is coming out to the classes. I'll do it at a home builder. I'm known to ask a home builder, hey, can I do a home buyer class at your model home? I mean, what home builder is going to say no, right? I'm bringing customers here that may have not even seen your model homes. It's affordable housing. I can go attract these people. And I'll do home ownership and tour, how to buy a home in 2024, like the real deal about buying a home in 2024. And what ended up happening is, what's crazy is the people that were coming out, they all had high FICO scores. They were just looking for someone to communicate with them in a way that wasn't projecting poverty, demeaning. They have money in the bank. They just need the know-how. And to be able to see somebody in person or hear somebody talk to them like they want to be talked to was a game changer. Such a game changer. So it makes you more, of course, relatable. You throw the jargon out the window, right? We're just talking to them about and getting to the point about what we're going to tell them about, and not coming from on high, like, hi, I'm here to educate you, because those are the fair housing CRA principles. And I think flipping that on its head is what's going to make us successful going forward as far as being that in that advisor role. So it means that I'm doing these classes and it's not a credit repair workshop. There are people with 750 plus FICOs coming out that have money in the bank. They're like, girl, give me the real deal. And I'm there for it. I'm giving it to them the way that they want to consume information, instead of the old mortgage way that's been set up and remained the same for so long.
Holy moly. I mean, we're almost at the halfway point and you've killed it. Chris and I have put a few notes in chat. I put realtors stop telling home buyers to get pre-qualified, start telling them to get a home buyer assessment.
Yes.
Boom, check. I hope everybody took note of that.
Yes.
Stop projecting home poverty on buyers by calling it down payment assistance.
Yeah.
Start showing home buyers how to leverage someone else's money. I mean,
The value in
pure
leveraging
gold.
someone else's
Love
money,
that.
right? Warren Buffett. Let's talk about everybody who has money in the US. They leverage
Yeah.
other people's money. They're not like, oh, I went and got a loan because I don't have it, right? They're not saying that. So why are we? It just, mentally speaking, I just was at a breaking point that I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then when you say affordable housing, I've kind of got off of that a little bit and tried to start saying, find a home that fits within the payment requirements you have. Yes, it takes me 4 more words to say it, but instead of saying affordable housing, some people think it's the projects, or it's going to be a bad neighborhood, or because we're saying affordable housing consistently, we're just totally taking them out of the mindset of wanting a house. We're like self-sabotaging, you know? So we're really finding things and that really meet their needs, and just like advisors do. So that's who we need to show up as, the advisor, all day.
Yeah. Love that. Keep putting questions below. Keep the comments coming or the reactions. Kristen, any takeaways, any questions you want to ask?
I'm exploding, but I'm trying so hard just to contain it. I keep writing down notes, but I just want to keep hearing you talk. I, first of all, definitely want to create a playbook that's like a, glossary of terms kind of thing of what you're talking about, because I do think it makes such a huge difference. I mean, for next gen buyers and people coming from diverse backgrounds, there's a ton of fear and anxiety that is just ingrained in them around buying a home or finances in general. So I just think that's so crucial. And I'd love to hear you speak. You're getting into really specifics around some of the terms that you use, even the homebuyer workshops and things like that. Like, what advice do you give either for, realtors or anybody to share to their first-time homebuyers? Or what advice do you give to first-time homebuyers when someone is full of anxiety and not really sure how to navigate this? Like, what kind of how do you start that conversation?
Well, I always tell them on kind of what you're talking about, getting that home buying assessment. I feel like even if you signed a lease today, I missed it. Sorry, I didn't know you at that time, but I don't feel it's too early to start that assessment. If somebody wanted to save money or better, and you're going to hear me say the words that I use, that I've replaced how people normally say it, in order to better position yourself to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish in your home purchase, it's not too early to start 12 months before your lease is up. See, I didn't say in case you need to fix your credit. I didn't say in case you don't have any money. That's like coming to someone and saying, hey, if you're broke, like maybe we should talk about this today. You've already taken them out of the mindset of wanting to deal with you, right? Because you're making implications on the life they live. And sometimes it is an unconscious bias based on who you might talk to. I don't say minorities, I say diverse communities. There's these little things. Being able to have a diverse team helps me as well, because I'm representing the people that are in our community. So sometimes that takes a little bit off their plate as well, because there is a lot of trauma attached to home buying. There is an anxiety. And I think that people miss out. It's not just Black home ownership and redlining at one point. It's everything that's going on. It's Hispanic culture feeling maybe locked out of the inclusion of being able to make these decisions and just being given a product and not being walked through. So emphasizing that you're here to do that assessment, but there's no hook here. There's like, we're going to assess this. We're going to figure out how we help accomplish your goals. And then you can set out plans. It also means that I consistently have buyers coming back to me every month, like, hey, I think I'm ready. Hey, I did X, Y, and Z. Let's give this a go now. Hey, my lease is up next month. When should I start shopping? So it's limitless when you're an LO or a realtor to keep having these buyers come back to you, because you're planting those seeds early. I think also when we're talking millennials and Gen Zers, we're missing out on the trauma that they have attached to home ownership. My daughter is 26, the oldest, but I have 20-something-year-old kids in general that are younger as well. And they witnessed 2010. We have a lot of people out there that watch their parents have to uproot them, take them out of their school, move out of their homes because they lost their home because of the financial crisis. How are you talking to them about home ownership and buying homes? Are you being, I don't want people to be sensitive. I want you to be aware, be culturally aware. Again, I don't need people, I'm Black, but I don't need people's sensitivity at all. And our home buyers don't either. They need you to be aware of what comes with their age group, which comes with their diverse background, so you can help them navigate the process in a way that really resonates with them. Because you will have consumers refer you, whether they can get a loan or not right then, or they're 12 months out or 6 months out, but you will have people flock to you simply because you do assessments. So it's valuable to have a path. I think I have a couple people closing this month who I initially met in December. They were 6 months into their lease, wanted to kind of kick tires, and we gave them a safe space to be able to do it without judgment. There wasn't a decline or an approval at the end of the event. So they felt great being able to do that. I feel that it's so huge to just that language that you're using, know your audience, like know your audience, do that assessment. It's so important. And I think that we can help a lot of people by fostering a great, safe environment of discussion about what they want to accomplish.
Yeah,
So
even for not having the cultural trauma attached to homeownership, I still, when I've talked about this a lot on here, it's just when it came time for me to buy a home, I needed to see a rent versus own to allow me to get over some of the anxiety and fear I had attached to buying my home. So anyway, Dave, sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, no, you're not interrupted. We're going back and forth. And by the way, love the questions, the comments. Carl Stryker said, "What an inspiration you are. Thank you for bringing your message to this community." What's up, Carl? That was a nice thing to say. Uh, Karen Wood asked, "How do you structure those workshops?" I really thought that was a pretty cool idea that you're going out to builders and you're putting together educational, what'd you call it here? I wrote it down. Um, what did you call it?
I
Uh,
did one at a builder. I called it Home Ownership and Tour. The
oh,
benefits
that's right. You called it Start Doing How to Buy a Home in 24 Workshops at Buyer Projects.
Yeah, the real deal on owning a home in 2024. If you come at people
The
with
real deal.
the real deal, like, man, you are just like, you're the source now. You are that person in the community that didn't give them the fluff, that didn't talk about weird things like debt ratio. I also don't say debt ratio, you guys. Apartment complexes for years have been telling people to make, you have to make 2.5 to 3 times the rent. So my challenge to you is go figure it on $1,000 a month to $6,000 a month, and what 2.5 to 3 times that payment earnings makes, and you'll find that it makes someone have a 40 to 45% debt ratio. So when I realized that, one of my younger children, she's 21, she's in apartment leasing, and we're talking about that, and she's asking me questions about what I do and how I articulate things. And I'm like, man, we have just been really overplaying our hand for so many years trying to explain debt ratio to people, when again, they're mentally familiar with 2.5 to 3 times the payment is what you have to make. So why not go hang out in the familiar, right? It lessens the anxiety. It means you're not talking over them in a space that you're educating. So like I said, let's be the real deal. And you literally are able to help so many people and resonate with them to where they feel comfortable. And you just level up your business to where you're not just the LO, you are that advisor. So I think it's major. And my workshops are structured like that too, with a lot of real deal talking and not the jargon. I don't do that in the classes because I want them to really feel comfortable in that space and know that I'm speaking to them as if I'm their girlfriend sitting at the kitchen table and we're having a lemonade on a Sunday afternoon, right? Because now they're trusting you, not because it's fake, but because they're like, okay, I feel where you're coming from. I'm there with you. I'm ready to go on this journey with you and my real estate agent.
So tell me what you think of this framework, because I've interviewed a number of top producing educational first, financial literacy first, mortgage professionals. I'm thinking of Denise Donoghue right now, who the mortgage nerd. I've actually got her scheduled in a couple weeks. And one of the ways she uses Mortgage Coach in the total cost analysis is it's just a framework of a story and a strategy. And so she'll actually tell a story and a strategy where she doesn't have Mortgage Coach. She actually, if it's in person, she'll have some of them printed out, so they're handouts.
Right.
And then if she has a screen, she'll also have a link so she can show it. But she'll use actual Mortgage Coach rent versus own and presentations as just you know, educational tools to help tell stories and strategies. Is that, do you do that at these events, or how do you use Mortgage Coach most often?
Most often, I will I'll make a slideshow because I do have like a deck I'll do, but I also made my presentations be 30 minutes. Again, I am just killing the game on changing it, because when I went to home buyer education classes and they're like 4 hours long, people are now using their phones to order their groceries, honey. They're texting people, they're catching up on the things they need to do in the class, and they're tuning out. So I wanted to do everything within an hour, including any special guests or HFAs I have come, to keep it short, sweet, and direct to the point. So in the presentation, yes, I have slides that kind of talk about the long game of ownership and the why behind it. And to really talk about our community and what it looks like. And for people to not necessarily be afraid of making that first purchase. But then when we do our home buying assessments, I go hard on Mortgage Coach, because I do believe firmly in everybody getting two options, whether it's two different down payments, okay, or if it's FHA versus conventional, or if it's down payment assistance or not to do down payment assistance. I feel I owe that to the consumer to illustrate a couple of options for them within their payment requirements or qualification requirements, so they understand that it's not just here, take it. And it gives them things that kind of hit on what their pain points are, or what after my interview is over, what I see could be their pain points, anticipating need for the future. So it is all about the long game when using Mortgage Coach. So I love it. That rent versus own is huge in my life right now, because there are so many people that are mortgage ready and qualify that are very quick to tell you, I don't want to go that high on my payment right now. They have the means, they're fully qualified, but they're not pulling the trigger. So I love being able to illustrate for them what that long game looks like as far as total investment into somebody else's property or getting their own. And what is so huge, and I've seen it posted, believe it or not, on social media a lot lately, where people are literally posting and asking if it's illegal because the landlord has basically told them to, given them notice, okay, to get out of their home because they want to go do something else with it, whether it be sell, because we have, of course, record equity in the United States, or they want to move back in it because it's at a great interest rate that they refinanced it at, right? These homes are more of a commodity that people are hanging on to them, but as a renter, it doesn't make you safe. So I also changed talking about, for first-time buyers, especially talking about the reasons for ownership. Yes, it's generational wealth, definitely, but I feel like that has become such a played out slogan. It's, yes, you're going to build wealth, not just generational, but you're going to build wealth, because plenty of people are okay having their foofy little dogs and not having kids right now. Okay. They're not on the same path that I was growing up, where, you meet you go to college, you meet your person, you get married, you buy a house, and you have kids. Everybody's not on that. So talking about generational wealth, they may not be able to visualize giving their home to their dog. So I want to talk about how your landlord can cancel you, and they match energy in this world right now. So if you can give a 30-day notice and vacate, they could give you a 30-day notice to be homeless. So are you ready? Have you gotten an assessment to be ready in case that happens? Because if you haven't gotten that assessment out of the way, how do you know how to move in the future? The worst thing we could do is try to make this all happen in 30 days when you have to get out, or 60 days. So by me seeing this posted on social media where these people are actually saying that they're being evicted from their property because the landlord simply wants to go do something else with it, they didn't get this form of information or education from a professional like me, or some of the professionals that are on the call or watching this. They haven't heard of it. So maybe we need to focus on that more as an industry and what it means to rent now. It is possibly a lower cost avenue to have a roof over your head. But when we start talking about the long game and how you don't have to uproot your kids and your family and start over because it's not yours, hasn't been a main focal point of the conversation. And with record equity in these homes, it's time we have those conversations.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, the tagline for First Home IQ is own your future. It is about net worth, but it's about controlling your future.
Yeah.
So guys, I put a link. This is a 5-minute video. So where literally Denise shows how she's blowing the minds of groups of realtors. It was from the Modern Mortgage Summit 2 years ago, but she literally tells you exactly what she's doing, how she's doing it. Highly recommend you check it out. Mosi, I think you'd even like this little 5-minute clip, but that link's down below. If you don't mind, before we run out of time, and then Chris, I'll have you close it out with questions, but I wanna hear how you describe a mortgage coach experience to both a home buyer and a realtor, because remember, we want to create more value for realtors and we want to differentiate. And then maybe show us 1 or 2 actual examples, because I just know every time you do something, your words, they're different than the typical mortgage advisor out there. And I want to make sure we hear how you're describing it to both buyers and to agents, if you don't mind.
Yes, to the agents, it's part of that assessment path. For them, I want them to understand it's part of them establishing their value prop. I am part of their value prop, for starters. And in explaining to someone and showing them their options to be able to evaluate what path they take in their ownership journey and letting them know that they have control of it over it is so important. We're their guides on this trip, more than anything. So again, working with my real estate agents to hone in those words, us both working on the same path to establish what our homeowners or possible homeowners pain points are. So we're just hitting on all of them throughout the process, and how Mortgage Coach is a tool. And I want the agent to have it as well, because it's so valuable for them to be able to explain it. So I think when we get together, we're both in this advisor mindset to be able to tell them the differences between little things like pre-approval versus pre-qualification and what that means, and timing, all the way into goal accomplishing. Because I feel like when people have goals, they're more driven. They're literally vested in the process with you, and will work just as hard with you to accomplish the goal of ownership. We got to get them to buy into it, and really see themselves in the process. And I feel like Mortgage Coach is the best illustration of it. With a home buyer, I'm able to go through a Mortgage Coach TCA and literally reference all the points that they told me that they wanted to accomplish in every field. This helps you accomplish, if it's down payment assistance versus not, I can say, hey, with the down payment assistance, this is going to help you accomplish your goal of going back to school in the next 2 years. Because you told me, you wanted to go to this university, or what that cost looked like. They initially gave it to me as the reason that they may not buy, but I turn it into that very positive that's illustrated on Mortgage Coach, because there is a measure of savings over time, that long game, and building that wealth that they might have the ability to tap into at a later date, that they're not setting themselves up for renting. So I feel like it gives you, like it's just giving you everything on a platter to be able to hone in to those pain points. And when you're solving pain points, it's like the best marketing, but it's also the best driver of accomplishment for a human being, because I've tied everything to everything they said their soul desired for their future, not just home ownership, but savings, having money, being financially set. Like, it shows everything. So why wouldn't we use it? That's what I want to ask. Why wouldn't you be using it?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, by the way. Anyone who's watching this and you're still a fee worksheet loan officer, feel free. I would love to know
One doesn't do it.
why, and we would love to solve your problems. You know, we have live training every day of the week.
It's
So
not a compelling reason. It's not enough of a compelling reason for someone to buy just because you told them a payment.
yeah,
You know, people every day, their buying decisions are far more in depth than just, I see the cost of anything sitting on a shelf at the store, but I'm always thinking, should I buy this now? Should I not? Why should I hold off, or should I splurge on this now? So you're giving them all that in a worksheet format that you can point out and hit on every pain point that they gave you and show them the solve before they get to the objection.
love that. Would you mind showing one and just walking us through it? And we're just entering the fourth quarter of this call, everyone. So if you have questions, put them in chat. Kristen, after she shows this total cost analysis, I'm gonna let you really drive the fourth quarter of this call.
And while she's pulling that up, one thing too is that, especially with first-time home buyers, there's so much distrust. And so, you know, just even if they do trust you as a person, they're not going to truly trust the transaction or the options until they see what it means for their own situation. And they, like, I know for me, seeing those options play out with my data in it helped me feel confident about my decisions. And you ultimately, that's where you're going to get your referrals, is from that kind of consumer confidence and trust.
Absolutely. Okay, I think I got it here. So I'm going to see if I can share.
I'll tell you when we see your screen. And here we go. Looks like a down payment assistance versus 3.5% down.
Yes, yes. So I'm gonna tell you the crazy part of this is, in Vegas, we have a lot of home builders. So I wanted to show somebody the difference, which everybody would naturally think would be a hurdle, between getting a loan from a home builder or someone that was buying down the rate at 5.99 versus taking a loan out at 7%. I feel that, well, I won't say I feel, my grandmother used to always tell me that there's a lid for every pot, which happened to be about a boy that I loved to death that wasn't necessarily loving me, right? But I feel it's so applicable to home mortgages as well, that everybody has their thing, their perfect fit, in getting down to what might be important to them. So this client, I knew that what was important to them was they wanted to own a house, but coming up with all the money right now, they weren't sure if they wanted to do it. So they were very attracted by the interest rate being 5.99 from the home builder, but they don't know if they can get that if they wait and save. So I wanted to show them that, yes, there's a difference in the payment, of course. When you're talking about doing the assistance, it's going to be higher by $205 per month. So I'm calling out the elephant that's in the room over the payment being higher, because my goal is to help show them how they can achieve ownership now. That was the pain point. So everything I'm going to illustrate to them focuses on that pain point, because they already told me everything else was clear. They steered clear of it already. So yes, you save money by doing the down payment. That's the obvious. The monthly, the annually, the interest in MI paid over 10 years. You can look at the differences between the two. It doesn't look so bad when you're looking more at the long term of ownership. And that was what was super important. And what I didn't show on here, but I was able to talk about, is, yes, you pay more, but if you went and took out a loan, for instance, to finance other things that you needed in the future because you use all of your money, would you pay more than $205.36 a month for that loan? Yeah, you probably would, with unsecured loan rates. This is like the best option for you to have best of both worlds. I think that doing the down payment assistance option versus today's rates is also very compelling for somebody to be able to see what ownership now versus later looks like. Or even if they have all the money, show them that, okay, yes, you pay more, but that's almost like borrowing your own money, because you're able to keep it in the bank put it in an interest-bearing account so that way you can go make that other purchase you need to make. Or in my case, to be able to pay for college that's coming up for another kid, okay? I've already got one that's in college. She's starting her sophomore year in August, and then I have the one that's going to be a freshman. So yes, pockets look really different, but if someone didn't talk to me and ask me what my short-term goals were or what was most important to me along with ownership, they would never be wise enough to do a payment comparison for me. And I feel that if you're interviewing that person or doing that assessment of what their life looks like, really finding out about their household, you can use this tool to do it. So 60 months being 44.50, it's not as bad on the long term. If you just talk to someone about, hey, you save a couple $100 a month, yes, they're thinking in the now. You need to expand this over several years and the impact is less for them, but they're getting in that home. They're not wasting money on a house that isn't theirs and possibly risking being told they have to vacate and having to revisit this situation all over again from scratch. And what we can't replicate in this market, I found in the past few years, is that very special moment of price and interest rate. It's probably more valuable today. I didn't see a value in that several years ago, but who I talked to 6 months ago, those houses aren't that price anymore. We cannot recreate that moment for a person. So being able to explain, articulate, and show examples is super important so they can see it over the long game and really picture themselves executing the plan that you have laid out.
Yeah, no, really, really well said. Anything else you want to show before we hand it back to Kristen? And
let me see if I can.
I think you have one more if you just click
Yes,
that tab right next to it.
Yep. It's not letting me get in there. Stop my share. Give me just a second here.
Guys, we got about 7 minutes. So any last questions, put them down below that you have.
Here's the rent to own is what we call it when we're showing someone, because we're going from renting to owning. Like I said, sometimes I just change a couple words because it resonates with them and it makes it sometimes a little less formal is better. So I wanted to show someone that was renting for $19.50 a month and even buying the house where this house had an interest rate special of 5.99. It's kind of a jump for them. They didn't expect the payment is what I see a lot of first-time buyers. They didn't really understand how much more the payment would be for the house that they were looking at $350,000. But once I was able to kind of break down the monthly payments and then show them the investment, I feel like the difference in payment is an investment in them. It's the cost of ownership. You're renting and you have to give it back. When you move out of an apartment or a home that you're renting, you may even owe money for crinkling the blinds, right? Or missing the chain on the ceiling fan, right? Some of the things that you pay for when you vacate a property. When you own a home and you vacate, most times you get the check, you know? So being able to show somebody that and tie those specific words so they can imagine what that looks like. Most people, I find that a lot of the age of home ownership is going up, or there's a co-buyer on the loan that might be in their 30s right now. Getting at people with what they perceive to be the issue up front, calling out the elephant in the room is huge. So being able to show this, man, this is a compelling argument for going up a little bit higher. Rent versus principal paid in 120 months. That's crazy, you know? And we have to do it that way because they're literally just borrowing where they're staying now and then illustrate it over 25 years. It's so much better when you're talking about that principal and what they're putting into that property and how paying over $650,000, they get zero back. Purchasing and what they're paying in principal, man, you're the one that gets the check when you leave. That's an amazing illustration to a homeowner. that wants to own that home. So you have to give them the fuel, you know, for them to be engaged and literally in this with you to get them to the finish line. And I think that that's what we've missed by giving a pre-qualification and here's your estimate for your payment. That's just telling them the cost of the goods and services they're looking at. You haven't made it theirs. They have no ownership over it yet until you do something like this.
I love that they're taking ownership over it. And I love that you're calling out the challenges that they're facing. Like, I think being really clear, you're being very transparent, like, hey, you know, owning isn't going to be as cheap as renting for you in this situation, but then you're digging in deeper and yeah, giving them ownership over the situation.
Yes, they're making an investment in their self. It's like the highest form of self-care. Like, let's call it that. Everybody loves self-care. So like this, owning a home, finding out your passion to own, it's like the highest form of self-care.
And guys, make sure you notice the word "to," like most loan officers call it rent versus own. And just, it's a subtlety, but it's the Mosi way, rent to own.
We're going from renting
Very,
to
very subtle, but very positive, powerful. And, you know, it has emotion to it. And I just want to make sure we called that out.
impact is like action, right? So it's like that
Yeah.
fluidity of
Rent to own. Yeah.
exactly.
I'm going to change my words. You
I
changed me.
think the Mosi way is the playbook that we can, or what we can call her playbook of language coming
Ooh.
out of this. So
Yeah.
great.
Yes, I do. But what's super cool is my HFA here in Nevada has also started changing their language. Yes, they're using home buying assessment because people are afraid to kind of take that first talk with somebody and sit down and worry about the service level that they're going to get. And is this going to be some quick, like, hey, let me pull your credit. Everybody's so quick to pull the credit, you know, but really talking them through it. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see the movement on the Mosi way because buyers really love it. And we're getting the buyers. This is what's crazy. We're getting the home buyers that are qualified, that are hiding in plain sight. They're out there. They have great credit scores. They have money and means. They're just waiting for somebody to come along and talk to them this way.
And you've talked about, and I know we just have a couple minutes here, but you've talked about getting your kids into homeownership. And so could you just briefly touch on some of the, I know we've talked a little bit about some of the tactics you use to help prepare them for homeownership. So I think this can be helpful in realtor conversations as well as with first-time homebuyers, and of course for all the parents out there. So what are some of the tips that you used in getting your kids to prepare for homeownership?
Save it first. That is literally what I told my kids. I wanted my daughter to go out and look at apartments and to figure out the cost of what she felt was acceptable for her to live in. Because I know you can find apartments and rentals that are less expensive, but would you live there though? I wanted her to be able to touch it, feel it, smell it, even associate it with the cost. The experience is everything. And then when she told me what she would live in, where she would live, how much it would cost, I said, great, go save that every month. So save it first is probably the first thing I tell everybody. If you tell me you want to own for $2,000 a month and you're renting for $1,000, I need you to save the difference of an additional $1,000 a month. When we're doing an assessment, if you've got 6 months, yes, let's go do that. Because when they start, if someone brings up having the money or not having the money, I want to show you what it takes to sustain ownership as well as just initially get in the door. So if you can tell someone as young as high school, junior year in high school, to save it first because they're working, you want to move out immediately as soon as you turn 18. Go save that rent payment. What's going to happen is we're going to cultivate these group of potential homeowners that are going to have money in the bank. We've solved our own current problem, the number one problem of not having money. They're going to have it because we told them to save first. So I think that that's where I started with the kids, and it got them acclimated to having that payment in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So 3
and it builds
years
their confidence.
yes. And now they have money in the bank. They feel different. They're swagger. They got swagger now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're saving with intention and purpose and a goal, not just because now it's like we meet people and they don't have the money and they feel like they're coming from behind in the race. They're behind, right? So getting them to save it first Man, if they're in high school and they're even working part-time and they know what they have to save every month, we're giving it an amount, a very specific. Whereas if they're in high school or they're in college, it's like, oh, save. Save what? What are you saving? You need to save for that next move in life. So I feel that's probably the most crucial thing, to save it first. And then it'll get them in those positive habits of having money, being self-sustainable, not wanting the credit card debt, because saving is such an important part of their life. That's for anybody. This goes for adults. If you want to level up in your housing, I don't care if you own today and you know that having this other house with an extra garage or a larger yard or to accommodate a larger family, go save the difference in payment per month. It will change your life. And it works for everybody if you think about it.
So true. I love that.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I think, Kristen, we need to interview her for the First Home IQ community. For anyone watching this, if you are not familiar with First Home IQ, go to firsthomeiq.com. There is a free quiz that every mortgage and real estate professional should take. Every mortgage and real estate professional should share it with your kids, or anyone that you care about, that you would love to see achieve home ownership faster and younger. For the mortgage First Home IQ ambassadors, you actually get a private labeled version of it. So when you share it, you're actually building your database. There's a lot of other really cool things with that if you want to learn more about that. Kristen, what's the best way for anyone that wants to, oh, you put links?
Dropped links. You can go to firsthomeiq.com/get-my-score or click the quiz at the top of the homepage to take the quiz, and then go to firsthomeiq.com/ambassador to learn more about the ambassador program. And thank you, Mosi, again for becoming an ambassador. We're so excited to have you part of the community.
Me too. Love what you are both doing, and so happy that I get to come along with you on your journey and be a part of it and use what you have to offer to help my homeowners and my agents. It's phenomenal. And anybody you talk to, if you're an LO or a real estate agent, they will want to be part of your movement, because you become a movement when you take ownership in this manner, and your referrals go crazy. And like I said, game changer is that employers want great workers who have home stability. So when you can come out the gates with these tools, the First Home IQ, the Mortgage Coach, you've changed your life because you've shown them how you can change theirs.
Yeah, I love that. And for all the producing managers on this, we've got a web page for you, trustagent.com/10x, which has all the sales training you need as a loan officer. And for all the managers, it's a tool to help you turn your loan officers into mortgage coaches. If you're an executive and you want to learn more about our data platform and our entire platform, there's a place on our website in the upper right-hand corner to get a demo. If you're an individual LO, you can sign up. Mosi, what's the best place for people to follow you if they really want to know you better, they want to follow up on what you do? What's the best place?
Probably Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's just my name, Mosi Gatling. Instagram is Mosi Gatling _. And maybe we can attach my link in the comments in case they want to see
Put a link down below.
Yeah.
Yeah, any link. Well, I can't wait to interview you more. Guys, we appreciate all the nice reactions. Give Mosi a closing reaction. Let her know what you thought of today's call. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel and you got value, give it a like. Share this with mortgage friends. I think realtors would get tremendous value from that. And we're just going to keep it going. Thank you, Mosi. Thank you, Kristen.
Guys.
Take care, everybody. This is a wrap.
Bye.